refine this down to a particular county. So I've built a query down here using the query builder, and I'm going to apply that query. And what I'm returned with are all routes, and more specifically, areas of route that satisfy that query. So I can tell here on this particular route between mile point 16 and 17 that I have guardrails that are in poor condition. Now, if I wanted to expand out the area of route that I'm selecting to analyze, there are several ways to do that. You can use this handy slide tool to just visually do that on the map. And also, you can type in measure values to analyze. So this is the route I'm going to proceed with here. This is I-64 in Huntington, West Virginia. And I'm just going to input an 8-mile range of this route to analyze. And before I hit analyze, I did just also want to mention there is a search by text option too. So if any part of the route ID is known, then that can just be typed into a simple search box. I'm going to go ahead and click Analyze Route to open up the straight line diagram here. So what we see here up top, this is the stick panel in the SLD, and this shows us the road representation. We've got mile points designated. In this case, we're actually pulling up two different LRSs, both a county mile point and a state mile point. And up top here, we're going to be able to display the point data in particular. And down below, we've got our linear data. So, for example, with guardrails here, we have some options for if I want to hide the stick representation for this. So we've got guardrails showing up top. I can toggle that on and off to either view or hide the stick representation of that. There's also the ability to hide overlaps. So in the case of the data that we have here, we clearly have overlapping data, so we can determine how we want to visualize that. So if I click on a feature here, this is going to pull up the entire list of attributes that are present for that particular feature. And opening up the feature grid, this is going to show me all features, so all guardrails that exist for this particular area of route that I've selected. So this is kind of like your attribute table in ArcMap. And for linear features, we have a few additional tools, so showing just basic statistics on coverage and continuity, a breakdown of categories, so we can see in a pie chart here the ratio of good to poor guardrails versus areas of route with no guardrails, and then basic information about contiguous spans of guardrail along that route. Now, everything that you see loaded here in the straight line diagram visually can be configured. However, Road Analyzer is going to pull a lot of this information from the map service by default. So what you see for the layer alias names, the layer order, what's turned on and off, the display fields, basic symbology, all of that Road Analyzer is able to pull in from the map service. So a lot of the configuration of this tool can be done kind of by default. However, Road Analyzer also provides a series of settings here in our styling settings menu for further refining how that data looks in the SLD. So in this menu, I can turn on and off different layers in this visibility tab here. I can also choose what value I want to be displayed for each layer. So let's say for guardrails, rather than the condition value, I'm just going to rely on the color to know that. So I'm going to change this value to rail here. And then taking that a little bit further with the style here, let's say I want, rather than red for poor guardrails, I want to change that to purple. I can do that. We've also got the ability to add labels and define placement settings for data, so how far up or down the stick panel that's being displayed, like an offset, that type of thing. So upon closing out of this menu here, well, I didn't actually click apply there, so let me just do that real quick. This is going to show my updated values there in the straight line diagram. So now you can see we've got the guardrail display set to the rail type, and now our pour guardrail type is shown in purple rather than red. So that's just kind of scratching the surface of some of the different types of display settings that can be changed in the tool. I'm going to go ahead and move on to a really key aspect of the tool, which are integrations. Now, integrations allow you to pull up an additional application that utilizes the same location that Road Analyzer is currently displaying in the SLD. So, for example, I'm going to pull up the Google Street View for this location on the route. And what I'm able to do then is navigate down the route in the SLD. So just moving the scroll bar. I can also move this guide bar here. Or I can navigate from within the Street View. So using the Street View arrows here. And this is showing me for this exact location that we have loaded up, just the Street View image there. And it's possible to load up more than one integration at a time. So I'm going to show this as best I can with just a single screen here, but you can see how if you've got multiple monitors that this can be very useful. We do have this pop out capability. So I could pop this Street View over to a separate screen there. And I'll just kind of show them side by side here. But what I've loaded up top in the Road Analyzer embedded window is the Google Maps integration. And then over here on the right, I've popped out our Google Street View. And these are all going to remain in sync as I scroll down the route. So kind of went a little bit too fast there at first. But you can see as I progress the bar going down the route, each of these are updating in sync. And I can actually move this Google Maps little icon here if I want to navigate to a particular location. So this can be really handy if there's data that exists in the straight line diagram and you need to have a way to kind of validate that based on the actual, photos or Google images, that type of thing. So if I, for example, navigate right to this particular bridge in the Google map, and I'll zoom in a little bit more here, then we can see that we are in fact at that bridge in the Google Street View. I can pan around if I want to take a look at the bridge here. And then in our straight line diagram, I can actually open up the data there that exists in the database for that bridge to get further information for that there. So this can be used as a means of QC for the data, as well as just a different way to visualize the data that exists there. I'm going to go ahead then and close these out, and I just want to show a few more integrations here very quickly. Another one we have is Road Video Viewer. So if you have video log data, then this can be incorporated. And this is a little bit different interface in that I've got different camera angles to have available. I can turn them on or off. Say I don't want to see my sky camera there. And with the Road Video Viewer integration, there's a handy play button that will progress the images down the route. So I'm not touching anything with my mouse right now. It's progressing down the route automatically. So I'm free to, hover over any of the data, take a look at this information. I can also toggle on this little icon, information icon here, to show the route ID, mile point, lat long information. So this is another handy way to integrate the video log data with the actual GIS data in the database to be able to view those all in conjunction. So one last integration I want to show.
Before you move on, one of the things that the road video viewer that we've used too is many of the DOTs have jumped between different software vendors for their video logs. So they may have Pathway, and they may have Roadware, they may have Manly, or even our newer Pegasus data, which is the LiDAR data. And if they have different years of data, they can pick which year, which vendor they want, and it all comes up in this one environment. So it allows, from an SLD environment, to integrate all of your video log into a single environment. You don't have to pop out to the vendor's specific viewer to see that particular data.
Right, thanks, Bill. And that would be available from this. There's a drop down here, so if you did have different collections available, that could be chosen here. Okay, so last integration, just to show very quickly here, is our pavement layer viewer. Now this is separate integration. It was actually requested to us by Iowa to add this in. And what this allows you to do is show, for example, construction layers that exist in an overlapping manner. You can see this depth scale to the left to integrate that data with the road analyzer application. So the pavement layers here, they get fully configured in a different application, but we're able to bring that into road analyzer and display that as well in the embedded integration format. So that, again, is useful for visualizing the data over time as it exists in that overlapping format. All right, so the kind of last thing I want to touch on here, I know our time is running out, is just to show some of the reporting capabilities that Road Analyzer has. So what I've just done here is I've gone to the reports menu and exported out a PDF report of the current SLD view. And I'll bring this up here just in a second. And this is utilizing a built-in report file that is included with Road Analyzer. This is touching on our underlying report engine StimulSoft reporting software that allows the straight line diagram view to be exported out to a PDF like this, passing through some additional parameters like the current route ID, measure range. We've brought in the sign shield as well. So again, just a basic report here generated with a few button clicks. However, there are absolutely many options for further refining and customizing the SLD view for reporting purposes. So let's say we want to just create a little bit cleaner look. I'm going to turn off signs here, and maybe we want to focus on guardrails. So I'm going to just turn on labels for the guardrails here using the rail field. Just configure that label here. See that update behind the screen. That looks good, so I'll hit close. And one thing I haven't touched on yet with Road Analyzer is this Draw Tools suite. So this allows you to create annotations for the straight line diagram view, as well as move labels around. So I had a little bit of an overlapping label there, so I'm able to open up these drawing tools and then move those as desired. This can also be used to, as I mentioned, create annotations, whether that's adding a note or circling a potential feature for someone to go in and update. And that view can then be sent off in an email using this built-in notify as well as our share features. So back to reporting, if I wanted to refine the way a report is being created from this view, maybe I want to decrease the number of mile tick marks that are applied. I just opened up our advanced print view, which has allowed me to make that change. And I can also see the page breaks that are going to occur for that report. And a handy feature here is if, for example, we've got a mile point that occurs right at a page break that's going to be printed on both sides of that page break. And so the last thing I want to show with this is there's also the ability to specify a minimal print layout. So this is going to give you more of the simplistic black and white look. It's automatically just applying that to the straight line diagram view. So any of those changes that I just made to this view can be exported out to that same report in the manner that I just showed before. And with that, I will just mention that there are a lot of configuration parameters and capabilities that clearly just don't have the time to cover in this short demo, but I did just want to show that this profile configuration menu gives you a lot of flexibility with how this application is configured, how it looks, how the sign shields are configured, what's visible by default versus not. So I hope this gives a good taste of some of the capabilities of Road Analyzer. And with that, I will turn this over to the next presenter.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lauren and Bill. And our next presentation will be with Jason Close and Patrick Fingler with Inline by Latitude Geographics. And you could share the screen with Patrick.
I just want to confirm, can everyone see our screen?
Yes.
Got it.
Great.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Patrick and myself, Jason Close, will be presenting our inline solution as an interactive visualization of linear referenced data. All right, so over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about GeoCortex Essentials and workflow. We're going to touch very lightly on what linear referencing is. We're assuming that everybody obviously knows what that is, but just as a point of reference for the presentation. Patrick will do a demonstration of our inline solution with some questions thereafter. Just a little bit about Latitude Geographics. We're a Canadian company headquartered out of Victoria, British Columbia, and we have about 110 employees, and we're an Esri Platinum partner. And being an inaugural partner, that gives us some really interesting advantages in working with Esri. We get to know what they're working on from one release to the next, giving us an opportunity to have access to their beta release, the release candidate, and their public releases in advance so that we can test our software and make sure that our software is able to work with all the new things that Esri's adding. And that enables us to have a new release of our software anywhere between 1 and 10 business days after that public release of Esri technology. In order to better present what inline is, we felt that we need to just introduce a little bit about what GeoCortex Essentials is. It's the foundational piece to what inline is, and it's a configurable framework for building and centrally managing a gallery of applications, whether they be very simple in nature or very powerful in terms of their capabilities, using HTML5. So what is GeoCortex Essentials? It is like I said, a configurable framework that enables you to build applications in HTML5 using ArcGIS Server, ArcGIS Online, as well as Portal for ArcGIS, enabling through configuration very simple and very usable and accessible applications for your end users, as well as providing a way in which you can build applications and manage them from a future-proofing aspect, in that with that relationship that we have with Esri enables you to configure applications, and we manage the underlying technology change for you, so the configurations and the applications that you built will continue to run independent of those underlying technology changes. So just a little bit more, we provide a tremendous amount of capabilities that are unique and simply quite amazing. So when you look at GeoCortex Essentials, these are all different pieces that are configurable within GeoCortex Essentials. So things like workflow and accessibility, charting, and printing. I just wanted to give this to you so you could just keep this in mind, because what Patrick is going to demonstrate shortly is a solution that we built that takes some of these capabilities, but enables you to further extend or build upon the inline solution that we have, so that you can add additional pieces to it that may not be with the inline solution that we provide out of the box. So I just want to touch a little bit on workflow, because I think that's really interesting. Now, typically, we've provided a way in which you can build, not through customization, but configuration, to build these and streamline and automate business processes that provide end user simplicity in an application that would otherwise have to be customized. So looking at workflow, we have a whole bunch of these pre-built activities that you can simply string together, chain together, insert forms, and provide a wizard-like experience for your end users. Now again, this is not customization, it's configuration, enabling you to take control of your own application development, as well as building tools and capabilities that enable you to be very specific about your business processes and the applications that you're building internally. So just as an example, stringing some of these activities together, running a geoprocessing task, writing it out to a CSV file. So as an example of what a workflow might look like, you can create a workflow, drop it into your HTML5 viewer application, and then present the form which tells the user to capture some geometry in the map. The next form that gets displayed is form data. So asking the user to fill out the form, which then intersects in this case with geo-enrichment data, or it could be with anything else in your database. And then from there, generating a report. So the reporting capabilities that are part of GeoCortex. One other thing I wanted to mention too is that in terms of how GeoCortex has worked historically and traditionally with Esri's ArcGIS platform, is that we've always worked alongside Esri technology. And more recently, we've developed a way in which we actually work with the ArcGIS platform internally. So we're able to build out workflows, for example, that work right inside Web App Builder. So how can you use workflows to streamline your business processes along with your linear networks? It's a great question. I'm going to hand it over to Patrick to take us through the next couple of slides and then present our inline solution to you.
Great, thanks, Jason. So I'm not really going to touch on this slide that long. We all kind of know what linear referencing is, but just for a quick reference, really we're storing geographic locations using relative positions, and these could be, you might have a variety of different event data along some kind of measured linear network. This could be a road network, maybe a transportation rail, and you're going to have a variety of different event data along this that you're going to want to visualize, interact with, and linear referencing is a fantastic tool being deployed by DOTs to analyze this information. There are a couple shortcomings with linear referencing. Typically, if you're wanting to view your linear reference data on a 2D map, the data just gets lost in the layering. It can be hard to interpret as you begin to add all of these different events on top of each other. So people have addressed this within the transportation industry by creating straight line diagrams. And hopefully you're all familiar with what a straight line diagram is. It's a static PDF that allows you to dynamically visualize or identify all of your linear asset information for a specific measure and range. There are drawbacks, so it might be you might not be able to identify some of the additional areas along that particular range, as it's a static PDF. It's not continuously updating with your linear network data, and you can't perform any advanced analysis or filtering on that data. So Latitude Geographics have developed just recently a solution that builds on top of our GeoCortex Essentials platform called Inline, and it allows you to dynamically visualize your linear network data through our dynamic alignment sheet or straight line diagram. So let's just hop into a demo. All right. So here I've got some transportation data, and this is in our HTML5 viewer. It ships out of the box with GeoCortex Essentials, and it's entirely configurable by a GIS administrator using our GeoCortex Essentials Manager software. In this example, this is some road data. It's using Esri's roads and highways. And if I navigate to my layer list here on the left, we can see that we've got a variety of different event data. And as I start to turn on this event data, you'll see that it can be quite, they're overlapping with a variety of different networks. And as one gets turned on over the other, you can't really interpret all of the data. You can't make business decisions on it. Now, our HTML5 viewer is designed for non-GIS users. So typically, you're going to have transportation managers working with your transportation data, and they might not have a clue about what GIS is. So we really work hard to create an intuitive UI to make it really easy for your users to perform a particular process. I'm just going to go back to the home panel here. All right, so here you can see at the very bottom, this is what we call the inline solution. It's where your transportation managers are going to be interacting with inline to analyze their network data. I'm going to select this handy tool at the bottom to select a range on map. So I can dynamically select a network. In this example, I've dynamically selected this particular highway in Rochester, New York. And you can see I've got my handy measure values as well. And I've kind of rubber banded to this tool. So maybe I'm interested in reviewing this range along this network, and I can now dynamically zoom to that range and see what information is there. So if I wanted to view that alignment sheet, or a straight line diagram, I can open up this button to display a chart. Now here we've got some templates configured. So all of this is configurable, and it's designed to work with whatever event data you have. In this example, we've created a physical characteristics template, which is displaying information on the road, such as the functional class, the type of pavement, the terrain type, maybe the shoulder type. You can see as I pan through this straight line diagram, we're dynamically interacting with the map as well. So there's this bi-directional integration between where I'm viewing on the map and with the alignment sheet, if that makes sense. So this begin station is at this end, and this end station's at this end, which is quite powerful. Also, as I zoom through across these different bands, these are linear ranges. We can see that I've got some attribute information being displayed. Additionally, I might want to change my template and view some operational info events. Again, all of these templates can be configurable, configured to display what type of data you need to view. Additionally, these bands, they can actually be moved up and down to provide the transportation manager with better visualization analysis tools. So here I can see the speed limit is 60 kilometers an hour here, and then it transitions to 35 kilometers. And you might be looking for, maybe there's a correlation between accidents and speed limits, but in this example, there's not. But as I hover over each of these accidents, we can see we've got some attribute information displaying. If I wanted to, I could actually open up this event table here and view the underlying attributes for the accidents as well. So as I scroll through this area here, we can see that depending on which accident I'm at and all the attributes associated with it, it's actually being displayed also on the map. So quite powerful. And this is using our results table within GeoCortex Essentials. And you can view all your additional event data that way. All right, so what you can also do is you can either manually enter in a route, you could enter in station values manually, or you can actually drag these up and down and create additional measure values on the fly. And one other handy tool is you can slide your range backwards and forwards. So maybe I'm interested in the accidents further along this range. So I can just use this handy slide range forward tool, and now I'm dynamically sliding through this particular range and seeing new accidents populate my map. And if I wanted to here, I can actually see there's a large grouping of accidents happening at a single point. And we can now start to make some business decisions on this and say, look, that, oh, it looks like there's been there's an intersection there, so maybe you want to analyze that a little bit further. The nice thing is I can use our out-of-the-box workflow technology to populate all of the areas or points of interest along my particular road network that might show me areas where there's at least maybe 6 accidents happening at a single location. So I'm not having to use, this alignment sheet to go out and snake through and identify all these areas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clear my range and I'm going to run a workflow. And so Jason kind of gave you a quick little introduction to what workflows is. And typically our customers will create a workflow and they'll run it off the I want to menu. It's where you want your transportation managers to perform common tasks. In this example, I've developed or I've created and configured a dynamic form where I'm going to select some roads that I'm interested in analyzing. And here we're zooming out and I can pan over each particular road if I wanted to. I could zoom to each area and I might be interested in identifying all of the points along this network that have at least a minimum number of maybe 6 accidents happening. So if I click submit, and again, this form is completely configurable, quite simple to create, but here we can see I've just populated a number of points of interests along this particular road network. I could then use my handy inline tool to select this road network range. Maybe I'm interested in this particular segment here. And we're dynamically populating these points of interest. So a transportation engineer or manager doesn't have to, go out and find where all of this information is. They can instantly see where, there's a cluster of a lot of accidents happening at a single location. They can then go out and identify that information. So here we can see we've created a point of interest at this location, and now you might want to maybe send someone into the field, possibly maybe there's a pothole there or something like that causing these accidents. So you might want to run a workflow to create a road closure. So in this example, what I'm doing is I'm creating a road closure using that geometry from that point of interest and running a workflow from our straight line diagram. So performing a business process on our event data, quite powerful. So here I'm I've got a new form available that a transportation engineer could fill out. We're geolocating the location of that point, and maybe we're wanting to create a road closure. It's going to be a construction, and it's going to only, the road's only going to be closed for a day, and we'll say there's some emergency vehicle access only. So I'm going to click submit, and I'm using this form to send all of this information to ArcGIS server to populate a road closure at this location. So if I just zoom in here, we'll see I've added a road closure, and if I use my handy I want to menu tool to identify it on the map and select it, we'll see I've got my particular road closure information. So that's quite powerful. I'm just going to change templates here and zoom out a little bit. And one other pretty powerful tool available is Transportation Manager can also filter this information in their events. So here I can edit the band properties of all of these accidents, and I can, maybe I'm interested in finding all of the accidents that have a minimum number of 5 or maybe 3 injuries. So if I apply that, I'm now filtering my accidents, so I can now better, analyze or navigate to areas that might be, causing lots of harm and damages to the general public. So that's quite powerful as well. All of the symbology that you see is configurable as well, and also so all of these bands, colors, configurable. What attributes you want to display, and also you can open up this template in a completely separate view. So here I'm just going to open up this in a new tab here, just to show you that we still maintain our bidirectional integration. So as I pan through this particular this segment or this range, we can see we're still maintaining this bidirectional integration between the map and our alignment sheet. So really powerful and useful if you're if you happen to have two monitors. I can also easily dock this back into the map viewer, and there we go. I'm good to go. You know, brand good as new. What's also quite neat is we've also actually configured this to work in using energy and pipeline data as well. So I just wanted to highlight that because our solution is designed to really work with any linear network assets you have available. Additionally, the information that you have displaying in these bands can be hosted on ArcGIS server. It could be hosted in SQL, Oracle databases, so it doesn't have to be spatial. All it needs is some measurement. It needs a measure value. So if it's a point data, it just has a measure value and an ID to connect back to this range segment, or a from measure and a begin measure. So it doesn't have to be spatial. And again, in this example here, it's designed to work with Esri's roads and highways. So if you're already deploying that, you should be good to go. With that, I think we're starting to run out of time here. So I'm just gonna hop back to the slide deck and just provide a quick little overview. So Inline, it is a linear referencing solution. It's built on top of GeoCortex Essentials. So you get all those powerful out-of-the-box capabilities, reporting, charting, printing, data linking. And again, it's a dynamic, interactive alignment sheet or straight line diagram tool. It's designed to work with Esri's roads and highways, and it's extremely extensible. I only showed you one little workflow that you could hook up to it, but you could hook up different workflows to meet your business processes and requirements, add different custom symbology, configure templates, and add, you know, as many events as you really want inside of it. So with that, we just wanted to mention to come visit us.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. We're going to be at GIST, booth 48. So if you're going down, drop by the booth, come say hello. Myself, Jason will be there, as well as my colleague, Scott Stafford Beal. We'd be happy to show you Inline, be happy to show you more about GeoCortex Essentials and how the two work together, as well as showing you some of the Workflow 5 stuff that we are doing and that what Patrick showed you today. So drop by, pleased to have a chat. Thank you very much.
And now I'm just going to pass on the presenter capabilities to Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks a lot. This is Eric Abrams. So I think that was a really good example of you know, two great straight line diagram products out there. And as Latitude mentioned, they'll be at GST, and so will Bill's group with Transcend. They'll also be at GST, so you can touch base with them. For vendors that we have on the phone that do have straight line diagram solutions, if you want to go ahead and pop your URL in the chat window, hopefully everyone can see what's going on in the chat window, and put your website out there, and other people can explore these other options. Unfortunately, we only had time for 2 vendors to present today, so if people have more interest in straight line diagrams, we can sure invite some more companies to come in and talk. A couple ones that we're going to touch base on today, just real quick, is Linear Bench. They'll also be at GIST this year. They have a configurable COTS solution, supports roads and highways, and they've been doing straight line diagramming for a while now. So you can look at their more info there. These slides will be available, so you can go back and take a look at the resources that they have out there. So we have Linear Bench from Gistic. And then we also have PMG also has an SLD tool that integrates with roads and highways. So it's embedded within the event editor, as it shows, and they have a solution out there that you can hit up. I'm not sure if PMG will be at GIST, but here's some contact information for them. And with that, I think I was just going to briefly touch base on it so we can get to our questions. So let me go ahead and turn presentation back to the organizer here. Carolyn, you there?
Fantastic. I got the screen here. So I was just waiting in a little 2-second glitch here. All right, well, thanks for all the presentations. If anyone has any questions, you can type them into the question box. As of right now, we don't have any questions. We'll wait a few seconds.
Hey, this is Eric Abrams. I was curious on both the presentations we saw today. Are how do those work mobilely?
Well, I'll answer first. This is Bill Schumann from Transcend. It works fine mobilely as long as you have your browser available. We can use iOS, we can use Android, or of course Windows-based tablets. The big thing is screen real estate. Obviously, if you are using a phone, you're not going to have as much real estate. But most tablets will work, and it is built with HTML5. So it works pretty well on the tablets. In fact, we even had that mobile component of it, so that if you're in the field, you can say, I want to see the routes close to my location, and it'll help you find your current location. So.
Yeah, and that's essentially the same for GeoCortex Essentials. So it comes out of the box with our HTML5 viewer, which as well is designed to work in desktop, handheld, tablet devices. As mentioned, if you're using inline or straight line diagrams, you will want to be using it likely on a desktop or tablet device just due to screen real estate. But again, you can use geolocation. If you're uploading photos, you can add those using your camera and stuff. So yeah, all designed to work on your mobile platform, both iOS, Android, and Windows.
This is Caroline here. We don't have any questions. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll end the webinar. Thank you so much to our presenters, and I'll just reiterate again, the next GOTUG activities will be at GIST, Wednesday, March 21st at 10:30 a.m. in Little Rock, Arkansas. And the next webinar will be held June 6th on GIS maturity.
Well, thanks for having us.
Does anyone have anything else to add?
Is this being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Yep. So we'll it should be posted on the GOTUG website in due time, but I'll work that out with Penelope. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.